When I married Ryan, I thought I had found my forever home. He was kind, charming, and made me believe in love. His family welcomed me with open arms, or so I thought. His mother, Victoria, hugged me warmly, whispering how happy she was to have a daughter-in-law. His sister, Olivia, smiled at me, but I noticed how she scanned my dress, my ring, my shoes, judging. The first few months were peaceful. Ryan and I lived in his family's mansion, a grand house with expensive furniture and sparkling chandeliers. I came from a middle-class family, so this was a different world for me. But I loved Ryan, and I wanted to make his family my own. Then, things started to change. It began with small comments. "You don't know how to cook properly," Victoria sighed one evening, pushing away the meal I had prepared. "In our family, we have high standards. Maybe you should focus on looking good for my brother instead of wasting time on useless things." Olivia laughed one morning, eyeing my simple clothes. Ryan would laugh it off. "That's just how they are, Em. Don't take it seriously." I wanted to believe him, so I did. But then, they started controlling everything. Victoria told me to hand over my salary. "It's better for the family if I manage the finances." Olivia threw away my clothes, replacing them with outfits she thought were more suitable. Ryan started coming home late, spending more time with his mother and sister than with me. One evening, I overheard them talking about me. "She doesn't fit in," Olivia whispered. "She's embarrassing." "We need to make Ryan see that," Victoria replied. I felt my heart crack, but I stayed silent. I wanted to fight for my marriage. I thought if I tried harder, they would accept me. I was wrong. One night, Victoria set a trap for me, one that destroyed my life in an instant. It was Ryan's birthday, and I wanted to make it special. I spent the whole day preparing, cooking his favorite meal, decorating the dining hall, and even wearing a dress Olivia had picked, hoping it would make them happy. But something felt wrong. Victoria and Olivia were too cheerful, whispering to each other with hidden smiles. I ignored it, thinking maybe, for once, we could have a peaceful night. When Ryan came home, he barely looked at me. He kissed his mother on the cheek first, then Olivia, before finally glancing at me. My heart sank, but I pushed away the feeling. Dinner started normally. Then Victoria cleared her throat. "There's something important we need to discuss," she said, placing a file on the table. She slid it toward Ryan. He picked it up, frowning as he flipped through the pages. I saw his expression shift from confusion to anger. "What is this?" His voice was cold. I leaned closer, my hands shaking. "Emily," Victoria sighed, shaking her head. "We didn't want to believe it, but look at the proof." Ryan's eyes burned into me. You took money from my accounts?" My stomach twisted. "What? No, I would never." "Then what is this?" He shoved the papers toward me. Bank statements, transfers I had never made. My name was there, forged signatures, proof I had stolen thousands from Ryan's business accounts. I felt the room spin. "This isn't real! I didn't do this!" Victoria placed a hand on Ryan's. "Sweetheart, I know this is hard, but we checked everything. Emily has been lying to you. She's been using you for money," Olivia smirked. "And I saw her with another man last week." I gasped. "That's a lie!" Ryan's face twisted in disgust. "I trusted you, Emily." Tears filled my eyes. "Ryan, please, you know me. I would never do this." Victoria sighed. "We've already spoken to the lawyers. You'll need to leave." I turned to Ryan, begging him to see the truth. But he just stood up, looking at me like I was a stranger. "Get out." His voice was final, cold. I couldn't breathe. They had destroyed me in seconds. I had no proof, no one on my side, no home, no money. I walked out of that house with nothing but the clothes on my back. But as I stepped outside, I made a promise to myself. They thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. I walked through the streets in a daze. I had lost everything, my husband, my home, my dignity. I had no money, no family nearby, and nowhere to go. I spent that night in a cheap motel, using the little cash I had left. As I lay on the hard bed, staring at the ceiling, the betrayal burned inside me. They had planned this from the start. Victoria, Olivia, and even Ryan. They had worked together to throw me out like I was nothing. I thought about my life before them. I wasn't always weak. I had a stable job, friends, dreams. They took all of that away. But I wouldn't let them win. I needed to think. How would they set me up? 1. The forged documents. Someone had access to Ryan's accounts. 2. The false cheating accusation. Olivia had planted the idea. 3. Ryan believing them without question. He had never truly trusted me. They wanted me destroyed. Now, I would return the favor. The first step? Survival. I couldn't fight back if I had nothing. I needed money, power, and connections. I called an old friend, Daniel, a lawyer I had met years ago. He owed me a favor. "Emily, it's been a while. You sound different." "I need your help," I said, my voice steady, "and in return, I'll give you the biggest case of your life." That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I planned my revenge. First, I needed proof. I would find out how they faked the documents and expose them. Second, I had to destroy their reputation. They wanted to make me look like a thief? I would make them look worse. Third, I had to hit them where it hurt. Their wealth, their status, their secrets. I would take it all. I wasn't the same woman they threw out. They had created their worst nightmare. The next morning, I met Daniel at a quiet cafe. He looked at me with concern, but I didn't want pity. I wanted justice. "Tell me everything," he said, setting down his coffee. I laid out the details: the forged bank documents, the false accusations, and the way Ryan had turned on me instantly. Daniel listened carefully, nodding as I spoke. "This wasn't just a simple setup," he said. "They planned this for months." I clenched my fists. "I need proof." Daniel smirked. "Then we start with the accounts." Through his legal contacts, Daniel got access to financial records. And that's when we found the first crack in their plan. The stolen money had been transferred to Victoria's personal account. My heart pounded as I stared at the evidence. She framed me while stealing from her own son. But there was more. Daniel kept digging, and soon we found something even worse. A secret bank account under Olivia's name, where large sums of money had been disappearing from Ryan's business. "Looks like they were stealing long before you," Daniel said. "You were just the perfect scapegoat." I gritted my teeth. "I need more than this. I want to ruin them completely." That's when I had an idea. Victoria and Olivia were obsessed with social status. Their world revolved around high society parties, charity events, and being seen as the perfect family. If I could expose them publicly, their world would crumble. But I needed someone on the inside, someone they trusted. That's when I thought of Mia, Ryan's ex-girlfriend. She had been pushed out of the family just like me. If anyone had a reason to help me bring them down, it was her. I picked up my phone and dialed her number. "Emily?" Her voice was cautious. "Why are you calling me?" I took a deep breath. "Because we both want the same thing, revenge." Silence. Then a slow, dark chuckle. "I'm listening." Mia agreed to meet me in person. We chose a quiet bar far from the city, where no one from Ryan's family would recognize us. When she arrived, she gave me a long, knowing look. "I always knew Victoria and Olivia would do something like this," she said, sipping her drink. "They did it to me too. Not as bad, but bad enough." I leaned forward. "Then let's make them pay." Mia smirked. "What do you need from me?" "They trust you more than they ever trusted me," I said. "Victoria still invites you to her charity events, doesn't she?" She nodded. "She loves keeping me close, just to remind me that I wasn't good enough for Ryan." "Perfect." I slid my phone across the table, showing her the financial records Daniel had found. "They framed me for stealing, but they've been stealing from Ryan for years. I need you to get proof from the inside. Texts, emails, anything that connects them to this." Mia's eyes lit up with excitement. I can do better than that. Victoria and Olivia are planning a huge charity gala next month. They'll be surrounded by their rich friends and the press. She leaned closer. If we time this right, we can expose them in front of everyone. A public humiliation. Exactly what they deserved. Mia started reconnecting with Olivia, pretending she wanted to be friends again. It didn't take long. Olivia had always liked having someone to gossip with. Within a week, Mia was inside their house, acting like she had forgiven them. As she gathered information, I worked on another part of my plan, making Ryan doubt his mother and sister. I sent him an anonymous email with copies of the stolen money transactions. No message, no name, just the truth. At first, he ignored it. But then, Daniel sent another email, this time with a simple note. Your wife never stole from you, but your mother did. Ryan started looking into the accounts. I knew because Mia told me Victoria was suddenly panicking, making calls, trying to cover her tracks. The cracks in their family were forming. The charity gala was in 2 weeks. That was when we would expose them in front of everyone. Mia had a plan to get Victoria to admit the truth. A confession, recorded in her own voice. Everything was falling into place. They had destroyed my life. Now, I was about to destroy theirs. The charity gala was only a few days away, and everything was going exactly as planned. Victoria was nervous, Olivia was distracted, and Ryan was starting to ask questions. Mia worked her way deeper into their trust. She spent time at their house, helped Olivia pick her dress for the gala, and pretended to be the same naive girl they once controlled. They had no idea she was working for me. Then came the most important part, getting Victoria to confess. Mia set up a meeting with Victoria in a private lounge. She pretended to be anxious, telling Victoria she had heard rumors about the missing money and the fraud accusations. I just need to know, Victoria, Mia said, lowering her voice. Did Emily really do it? Or is there more to the story? Victoria sighed dramatically, swirling her wine glass. Oh, Mia, you're still so innocent. She leaned in. Emily was just a problem that needed to be dealt with, and we handled it. Mia's hands trembled as she held her phone under the table, secretly recording every word. Victoria kept talking, arrogance dripping from her voice. She was getting too comfortable. Ryan trusted her too much. Olivia and I had to act fast before he gave her access to everything. Mia pressed further. But what about the money, the accounts? Victoria smirked. Ryan will believe whatever I tell him. He always has. Olivia and I just moved a little money here and there. Who's going to question us? Certainly not my son. Mia almost gasped, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had exactly what we needed. That night, Mia sent me the recording. I listened to Victoria's words over and over, feeling the rage build inside me. She had never loved her son. She only saw him as a tool, someone to manipulate for her own gain. And Olivia, she helped destroy me just to stay in her mother's favor. They thought they were untouchable. In 2 days, they would learn the truth. The gala would be their downfall. The night of the charity gala arrived. Victoria and Olivia stood at the entrance, greeting their high society friends with perfect smiles. They had no idea their entire world was about to collapse. Mia was already inside, mingling with guests, her phone ready to play the recording when the moment was right. Daniel was there too, watching from the back, making sure everything was set. And me? I walked in like I belonged. The whispers started immediately. I had been publicly humiliated, accused of theft, thrown out of Ryan's life. Yet here I was, wearing a stunning black dress, my head held high, a quiet storm in my eyes. Victoria noticed me almost instantly. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second before she recovered. She leaned toward Olivia, whispering something. Olivia glanced at me and smirked, like she had already won. Let them think that. They wouldn't be smiling for long. The gala was being live-streamed, a perfect opportunity to expose them to not just the guests, but the entire world. Mia had arranged for the recording to be played at the perfect moment. She had slipped the audio file to the event's tech team under the pretense that it was a speech Victoria wanted played. And soon, Victoria would be making her grand speech, the one where she would talk about her devotion to family and integrity. The hypocrisy made me sick. I took a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, standing near the stage as the event unfolded. Ryan was there too, though he hadn't seen me yet. He looked uncomfortable, distracted. He had started to doubt them. But after tonight, he wouldn't have doubts. He'd have proof. The host stepped onto the stage, smiling at the crowd. And now, our wonderful host, the heart of this charity, Victoria Sinclair. The guests applauded as Victoria walked up, glowing with fake grace. She took the mic and smiled, preparing to speak about her selflessness, her generosity, her perfect family. She barely got 2 words out before her own voice interrupted her. Emily was just a problem that needed to be dealt with, and we handled it. The room froze. The voice recording played through the speakers, crystal clear. Ryan will believe whatever I tell him. He always has. Olivia and I just moved a little money here and there. Who's going to question us? Gasps spread through the crowd. People exchanged shocked looks. Some pulled out their phones, recording the moment. Victoria's face drained of all color. Olivia's eyes widened in horror. Ryan stood up so fast, his chair tipped over. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. The recording continued. "She was getting too comfortable. Ryan trusted her too much. Olivia and I had to act fast before he gave her access to everything." Victoria lunged for the microphone, but the host quickly pulled it away, looking horrified. The damage was already done. People were whispering. Some were openly staring at Ryan. He looked at his mother, then at Olivia, his face twisted in disbelief and anger. The perfect image they had built for years was shattering. I took a step forward, locking eyes with Victoria. She finally looked afraid. I smiled. This was just the beginning. The room was silent, except for the quiet murmurs of disbelief spreading like wildfire. Victoria stood frozen on stage, her face drained of its usual arrogance. Olivia clutched her dress, shaking her head as if she could somehow undo what had just happened. But it was too late. Ryan stepped forward, his face twisted in rage and betrayal. "You lied to me," he said, his voice low but filled with fury. "All this time, you let me destroy Emily's life while you were the real thieves?" Victoria opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time in her life, she had no excuse, no manipulation strong enough to fix this. The guests were no longer whispering. They were openly talking, judging. Reporters were already rushing to the exits, likely preparing to publish the scandal within minutes. And then, to make things worse for them, security arrived. The event organizers had been watching the disaster unfold. The moment the recording played, people started investigating. One of the charity officials stepped forward, addressing the crowd with a grave expression. "This charity has always been built on honesty and generosity," he said, his voice firm. "But we cannot, and will not, associate with people involved in fraud. Effective immediately, Victoria Sinclair and Olivia Sinclair are being removed from all positions within this organization." Gasps echoed across the room. Victoria looked like she might collapse. But it wasn't over. The moment I had been waiting for finally arrived. Daniel stepped forward from the crowd, holding a folder of documents. "These are the financial records proving that Victoria and Olivia have been embezzling money, not just from Ryan's accounts, but from multiple charities they claim to support," he announced. He handed the papers to a police officer standing near the entrance. Victoria snapped back to life. "This is ridiculous," she screamed. "I will not be humiliated like this." But it wasn't up to her anymore. The officer looked over the papers, then at Victoria and Olivia. "Victoria Sinclair, Olivia Sinclair, you're under investigation for financial fraud. We'll need you to come with us for questioning." The room erupted. Some people gasped. Others took out their phones, recording the scene. Victoria's perfect image was crumbling before her eyes. Ryan's breathing was ragged. He turned to his mother, his sister, 2 people he had trusted his whole life. "You ruined everything," he whispered. "You ruined my marriage, my trust. You made me throw away the only person who ever truly loved me." Victoria reached for him. "Ryan, sweetheart." "Don't." His voice was ice cold. "You're dead to me." Victoria flinched, her lips trembling. She knew she had lost him. And then he turned to me. His eyes were filled with regret, but I could see something else too. Realization. But this wasn't his moment. This was mine. So I held my head high, gave him one last look, and walked away. This wasn't about Ryan anymore. This was about justice, and I had finally won. As I walked out of the gala, I could still hear Victoria's frantic voice behind me. She was trying to negotiate, manipulate, beg, anything to save herself. But no one was listening. The police officers led her and Olivia out through the back entrance, away from the flashing cameras. But it didn't matter. The media was already outside, waiting. Reporters shoved microphones forward, shouting questions. "Mrs. Sinclair, is it true you stole from your own son? Olivia, did you frame Emily to cover up your crimes? What do you have to say about the leaked audio?" Olivia hid her face, pushing past them. But Victoria, proud, arrogant Victoria, tried to maintain her composure. "This is a misunderstanding," she hissed. "I will be cleared of all charges." But everyone knew she was lying. Daniel stood next to me, watching the chaos unfold. "We really did it," he murmured. I nodded, but it didn't feel real yet. For so long, I had dreamed of this moment. The day Victoria and Olivia would fall, the day Ryan would finally see the truth. And now that it was happening, I almost couldn't believe it. But then, I saw Ryan. He stood near the entrance, surrounded by stunned guests, his hands clenched into fists. His whole world had collapsed in the span of an hour. I could see it on his face, the realization that he had been a fool, that he had let his mother and sister control him, that he had destroyed me for nothing. And then, our eyes met. For the first time in months, he wasn't looking at me with anger or suspicion, just guilt. He took a step forward, but I didn't move. "Emily," he started, his voice thick. I didn't answer. What could he possibly say? That he was sorry? That he should have believed me? That he regretted everything? It didn't matter anymore. Ryan had made his choice a long time ago. I turned away, leaving him standing there, alone in his regret. Victoria and Olivia's arrest was everywhere. Within hours, the news spread across social media. High society scandal, Victoria Sinclair, and daughter accused of fraud. Leaked audio exposes the Sinclair family's dirty secrets. Ryan Sinclair's fiancée was innocent, and he helped destroy her. The internet tore them apart. The Sinclair name, once untouchable, was now a joke. Ryan tried to control the damage, but it was impossible. Investors pulled out. His business partners distanced themselves. His family name was toxic. And I watched it all with satisfaction. They had ruined me. Now they were ruined. I sat in my apartment, watching the news with a quiet sense of satisfaction. Victoria and Olivia were done. The police had enough evidence to ensure they wouldn't escape this time. Ryan had released a public statement, trying to save his reputation. He claimed he had no knowledge of his mother and sister's crimes, but the public wasn't buying it. His silence when I was accused, his blind loyalty to them, it was all too fresh, too damning. His company's stock had plummeted. His high-profile friends avoided him. He was a disgraced man. And me? For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Daniel knocked on my door later that night. When I opened it, he was smiling. "We did it," he said, handing me a small folder. I took it, flipping through the pages. My name had been cleared. The false charges Victoria and Olivia had planted against me were officially erased. I exhaled slowly, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "I can finally start over," I whispered. Daniel grinned. "You deserve it." And for the first time in a long time, I believed that. A few days later, Ryan showed up at my doorstep. I wasn't surprised. When I opened the door, he looked tired, lost. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his usual confidence was gone. "Emily," he said, his voice softer than I had ever heard it. I waited. "I was wrong." His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. "About everything." I didn't answer. He ran a hand through his hair, looking desperate. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know how sorry I am. I let them manipulate me. I let them destroy us." United States. The word felt so meaningless now. Ryan had been my world once. I had loved him, trusted him, and he had thrown me away like I was nothing. Now he was here, expecting what? A second chance? I looked at him, my expression calm. "You let them ruin me, Ryan. You didn't even hesitate." He flinched. "I was blind. I see that now." "Too late. You can't undo the past," I said quietly. He exhaled sharply, his shoulders dropping. He knew I was right. I took one last look at the man I had once loved. Then, without another word, I closed the door in his face. Victoria and Olivia were facing a long legal battle. Their elite friends had abandoned them. Ryan? He had lost everything. But me? I had survived. I had fought back. And I had won. And that was all the revenge I needed.